Of 77. Saturday night will be partly cloudy with a low of 63. Sunday will start with a chance of a thunderstorm in spots in the morning, then turning humid with clouds breaking for some sun and a high of 84. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this hour of the Sean Thompson Show is sponsored exclusively by DonleyAuctions.com. They need your guns. Sell for top dollar. DonleyAuctions.com.
I love America. I love the Constitution. I love the First Amendment. I want to carry and all else. I love property. And let me tell you something. If you care about your country, read Ludwig von Mises and the 6 lessons of the Austrian Economic School, motherfuckers.
From the streets of Melrose Park to the trading floor of the Merc, he's fought for every dollar he's ever earned. And now, with personal liberty and our system of capitalism under assault in America, he's here to seize back our rights from the government. With a cigar in one hand and a copy of the Declaration of Independence in the other, he's Sean Thompson. And this is the Sean Thompson Show.
Some folks are born made to wave the flag. Ooh, they're red, white,
the minute I heard this clip, the minute I heard it, I thought of my next guest.
It's time for a national billionaires tax and a new social contract. Think about this, just 10% of people in this country own 2/3 of the wealth.
And he's related to everybody in that 10% arena.
Gavin Newsom destroyed paradise. He has brought suffering, failure, and misery to the state of California, a place once so revered and admired that it was compared to the Garden of Eden.
It's a great place to live if you're part of the feudal elite. If you're not, it's a nightmare.
Our leadership has failed us. It's gotten really dangerous. The crime is out of control, the homelessness. It's scary these days.
It's the highest rate of poverty, the American dream in California. It's very, very difficult to achieve.
His policies have failed in every possible way regarding the rebuild of Pacific Palisades.
As of November 2025, only one home has been rebuilt.
Do not expect any rebuilding. You have no idea how much red tape there is in regulation. It is not going to happen.
I haven't seen one construction worker.
No, not one.
What's going on? Why is this not happening? Why is this not the busiest construction site in America? Gavin Newsom says it's gone because of climate change.
We're on the tip of the spear. You saw one of the most devastating wildfires in American history in the middle of winter.
There is nothing at all unusual about this fire unleashing in January, because that is right when the Santa Ana winds kick up. California fails to manage its many forests correctly. It does not clear brush and effectively thin forest as it needs to do. The nearby San Ynez Reservoir was empty when the fires began. Actually, Gavin, it was arson and totally negligent initial fire response, not so-called climate change.
Now, you know the voice. He needs no introduction on this station. American political analyst, financial strategist for decades, building a reputation that now people pay him to give his advice. Except for me. I pay him nothing. He is my friend. I love Brian Piccolo, and I love Steve Cortes. What's up, handsome?
How are you, brother? Great to talk to you. Hey, do they let you smoke cigars while you're doing the show?
Yes. I'm in Studio Xanadu, brother. Right now, La Gloria Cubana, that would make your mouth water.
Fantastic.
Yeah, sure. But go ahead. Tell me a little bit about this. And you know what's amazing about the whole Gavin Newsom thing? Yeah. I can't get past the fact his father was William Newsom. And all those years of John Paul Getty, when John Paul Getty paid the bribe to the Italian mafia, it was Gavin Newsom's father that brought the money. He structured it as a loan so that nobody would have to pay taxes on the money. Negotiated the send a year. Negotiated it from $3 million, got him to $800,000. You want to talk about a scoundrel? Never paid a tax in his life, and all his trust fund money comes from oil. It's unbelievable.
Yep. Yeah, and then rails about so-called climate change. No, you're exactly correct. He is a creation of the Getty family and his own family connections, but really their close connectivity with the Gettys. All of his life is a scam. When he opens his mouth, he lies. And I mean, it's all a scam to the point where, for example, he claims that he played baseball in college, which he didn't. I mean, and he lies about it constantly. He still does. Now, that you might say isn't all that consequential, but I think it's indicative, of course, of his just character and who he is. And then some of his lies are very consequential, right? For example, saying that this tragedy was not preventable in Pacific Palisades and saying it happened because of so-called climate change. No, it was actually very predictable during an extreme drought in California, which is very cyclical. That has happened about because they had.
Hold on now. That plate in your head is screwing up the cell signal. Can you hear me?
Yes. Do you have me?
All right. Now I do. You must have been getting in and out of a car because you got that big satellite you call a head, and it's throwing the signal off. But go ahead.
So, no, and he lies about far more consequential things, like the Pacific Palisades fire being inevitable or just being some tragedy or a result of climate change. No, it was totally predictable, totally preventable. However, because they don't manage their forests correctly, because they don't collect the vast amounts of water that come from the heavy snows that come every 5, 6, 7 years in California, that's the normal way of nature, the normal cycle of nature in California, drought years for several years in a row, then followed by lots and lots of snow in the Sierra Nevadas, which all melt down and then make California the green, beautiful place that it is. But rather than collecting that rainwater, rather than having firefighters be ready because they knew how dry everything was and they knew that the Santa Ana winds were kicking up, none of that happened. So the fire happens. It was totally preventable. It was an absolute tragedy. And then even worse to me, and that's why I went out there, Sean, because once I started realizing that the rebuild of one of the most beautiful places on the planet, all right, it's hard to exaggerate. For folks who've never been there, Pacific Palisades is almost like natural stair steps down to the Pacific Ocean. So the views are unbelievable. It's just a verdant, sun-kissed, incredible place, generally very wealthy. This place burned to the ground, 6,000 homes. One, and when I was out there taping, one had been rebuilt over a year later because of Gavin Newsom, because it's impossible to get any business done in California because the permitting is insane. So I think the failure to rebuild is even worse than the preventable fire itself. They're both awful, but I think that's even worse. And the reason I'm doing this, Sean, is to expose his California record because, listen, this guy, as much of a scumbag as he is, he's slick, he's good at media, he's good looking, he's got a good-looking family, he's got a lot of money behind him. He may be the Dem nominee. He's certainly going to give it a strong run. And if he is the Dem nominee, he might fool some people, and they need to know, what did he actually do in California? What would he do for America?
And you know what I like is the family connections, the family legacy. And now he has the kid that he just propped up against him. He's got a young son that he put up right next to him. I don't know if you saw the last propaganda piece on him. And he's at a sporting event. He's got the kid there. So they run that hand-me-down corruption like a Chicago Democrat does. And, you know, it's funny what you said when you said they lie. They lie when they don't have to. And you remember this, all of our years of interacting with these Democrat kids down at the Merc and at the board when they would come from the mafia money. And they couldn't tell the truth. It's the same. Yeah. You can't tell the truth. Just tell the truth. It'll do. Nah, I prefer to lie. It's like Barack Obama and Brandon Johnson. You could hang them by their feet. Tell the truth or I'll drop you. They're going to take their chances. I think I can make it. They're going to tell you another frickin' lie. Cannot tell the truth because it's within the lies that their empire is built. It's all fracking lies. And when you think about California, you know, it's infinitesimal counties. I'm big on this county things, and people get sick of it. I don't care. 75% of the counties, 74.8, always vote for the good guy. Always. They voted for Trump. They vote for everybody who's not a Democrat. Yet you've got the small percentage of counties that overwhelm the decent areas, and they do to California what they did to Illinois, what they did to New York State, what they did to New Jersey State. And that's what we need to break that chain because they're stealing our money. And now they have this new thing, you're going to tax billionaires. Well, tax yourself. Here's a guy, and you know what I love? How he buys the houses that he lives in. All money laundering schemes. His trust fund buys it in the brother's name, then he gets it. They also can't pay taxes. I'd love to know what the tax check Nancy Pelosi, who is his aunt, Nancy Pelosi and Paul Pelosi and all these people, and there are the moron communists and socialists. They can't vote for them fast enough. So to me, I mean, I think the people in California, those are cowboys too. Those are long legacies of people who love this country. If those 74 counties can't figure out something to get away from the rest, that's a problem. I think that should be the move of the Republican Party from now on. I either want to make 150 states, break them all apart, triple, quadruple the amount of congressmen and senators, and let's log jam this son of a gun up. What do you think?
Yeah, No, look, it makes sense to me. Obviously not easy to pull off, but it makes sense to me. I'll tell you, too, the other thing that I think shocks people, and people don't believe me on this, I mean, you can check me, California has the highest poverty rate in America. So California is a very third-world place. So the glistening coast is full of unbelievably wealthy people, the wealthiest people in the world, although they're leaving now because of the taxes, because of what Gavin's going to do to them. However, you have these glistening coasts, and a lot of people who haven't spent time in California, that's all they know, and they just see sort of the Hollywood version and it's an incredible place. It's the most beautiful landscape, I think, on planet Earth, and only leftists could ruin a place like that. However, other than the ultra-wealthy, everyone else, life is a slog for them. They live in tiny homes. They have extremely long commutes. They're paying $8 a gallon for gas. The regulatory burden is such that they can't start businesses. They can't build a new home. Life is really brutal, and the highest poverty rate in America, according to the Census Bureau, because the way they calculate it, which is correct, is adjusting for costs. And the costs are so sky high to life there that the standard of living in California is the worst in America. And we're going to elevate this scumbag to be the president of the United States. And by the way, right now, according to betting markets, the two top contenders for the Dem nomination, both California. It's Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom. So it could be we're going to have a Cali on Cali battle royale for the Dem nomination. And my point is, of course, neither one is remotely worthy of even consideration. However, both of them have their lane. Kamala Harris, of course, already was a nominee, was vice president, got a lot of votes, inexplicably, but she did. And she's a black woman, right?
Is she?
And so she,
I mean, come on, man. It's such an insult. It's not like Barack Obama grew up watching Good Times, and it's not like Kamala Harris didn't grow up in Canada, and she's not really black. Her mother is an Indian, and her father's Jamaican.
Right. She grew up in Canada, very culturally Indian, right? That's the reality. It is true, yes. But I think either she wised up or somebody in her life told her, you need to go to Howard University and you need to sort of get black, right? Which she, reasonably successfully did. And regardless of what you and I think, she's regarded as black, which is key for her. So she has a lane, is my point. Gavin Newsom's lane is that he's slick. He's good at media. He's a consummate liar, a fairly effective liar, and massive amounts of money behind him, right? But I think if we expose his record, and to me, I'm going to do several of these docs on him. The first one is Palisades, because I think it's the most damning of all. Because here's what I also point out in the documentary. If even these rich Democrats, and they're mostly rich Democrats in the Palisades, okay, if even they can't get their house rebuilt, if even they can't get any action, and Sean, believe me, when you go to Palisades now, I mean, it's ashes. It looks like the fire happened 2 days ago. It happened well over a year ago now, and nothing is happening. I was there on a weekday, not a hammer swinging, not a truck, not a construction worker anywhere in sight, nothing happening. Just
so it's like
a wasteland.
It's like road repair in Illinois or Chicago. Just a lot of cones, nobody working. What else is very interesting is the amount of corruption that has been right next to him, from his chief of staff who just went away, and the fact that his wife now is the recipient of what, $4 million, $3 million, $5 million of NGO money that he steers to the way. And, this is the other problem, too, is that the system itself is so corrupt, because you know full well that the arsonist who started the whole fracking fire, they just had a hung jury and they get a mistrial on the case. And that kid is on record and posts how he hates the rich people, and he goes to Palisades, he lights the fracking fire. And that's like, what, the fourth time they've had a Democrat, socialist, communist ignite a fire that burns hundreds of thousands and of millions of dollars in the air and acres and property. So they have to judge. Now, you're going to tell me that jury wasn't as rigged as one in Silver Shovel era in Chicago, Cook County. It's right. How could you let this guy walk? The judges are crooked. The chief of staff is stealing money. So you've got that same Chicago mafia infrastructure that poses as a legitimate government. It's a problem.
Yeah. And by the way, in terms of the fire that he set, that I get into this doc too. The specifics here are even worse, right? So this scumbag that set the fire, it's actually put out reasonably easily. The Laughlin fire near Pacific Palisades, put out reasonably easily. Thankfully, right? There are actually some good fire response, except it was so dry and there was so many winds. It was still smoldering. It was actually a full 6 days later that the Palisades inferno erupted. And why did they not put it out fully? You know why? Because they were, quote, protected species of plants in the area where it was still smoldering. And so, and we have this on record. This isn't supposition. They literally said, Sacramento said, quote, let it burn. Just let it burn, because there's some protected plants in there. And
how'd the plants do in the end? Did the plants pull through?
And we ended up destroying an entire town. And at least 12 people died. It's hard to know exactly how many, because which deaths do you attribute to But anyway, at least a dozen people died, thousands and thousands of homes destroyed. And again, to me, the worst part of all, as bad as all that is the fact that we're not rebuilding. I mean, this is the United States. Like, do you know how fast, speaking of California, when huge earthquakes in the old days, right, in the gold rush kind of days, in the days when California was still truly the West, when massive earthquakes would hit San Francisco, how fast they would rebuild, right? The ingenuity, the hustle. I mean, that's California. That's what it was, at least, right? It's not anymore, of course. Now, in the wealthiest part of California, you can't even get a hammer swinging. You can't get anything going on more than a year later. Again, in a place where people are connected. If even they can't get this done, it shows you just how corrupt, inept, and just, totally, almost fixated on failure Gavin Newsom and his cronies are. And what I'm trying to do is warn America, though, because, listen, this guy's he's got a pretty good platform. And by the way, if he gets indicted for the crimes that he and his wife are committing, and I hope he does get indicted, that may have on the Dem side a little bit of the Trump effect on the Republican side, meaning it might vault into the front of that Democratic nomination. And that could happen. We'll see. We'll see what unfolds there. But he's admitted publicly that he's being investigated for the absolute abuse of nonprofits that he and his wife have perpetrated, even though they're already both generationally rich. That's not enough for them, to just enjoy the riches they've stolen. They need more.
You know what I love about that position you just articulated and why I think you should be calling the big guy, because I know you got the cell phone, is when you look at our own area, Chicago, the Democrats that make up the supporters of the mafia, they are not offended by political theft. They're incentivized. They're titillated. They want in on it. This is the other thing. The way out of these feudalist areas, and that's what they are when you live in these areas, it's feudalism. If you're an honest person and you're working, they're going to tax you into poverty. They're going to tax you into that malaise. But what happens is their standard of and their opinion and their acceptability of crime, it gets in line with them. That's why you don't see one Democrat. Have you ever, and you're a political junkie just like I am, where's the elected Democrat or the people who support or make up the DNC outraged at the hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars that have been stolen and revealed to the American people? Is there one? Is there one Democrat that said, we got to get this money back? So
no, because it's a cartel now.
And so are the people. The people are intellectually corrupted. If you're still a Democrat in the year 2026, with all of the evidence, with all of the ghettos, with all of the once great areas where buildings are going into receivership and they're just walking away, if you're still a Democrat, it's because you want in on it. You want to be part of that feather bedding in the government. Brandon Johnson, this scoundrel, when I tell you, I don't know what the stats are, but somebody's got to look at the amount of people he's hired directly and indirectly. I mean, you're talking, I think it was 46,000 people are on the payroll of city of Chicago. 46,000. When you and I were at the Merc, you know what it was? 20. 20. Wow. So you more than double it, and they got a committee, and we're going to do this committee, and hundreds of millions pour in. It's the cut me in or cut it out. And intellectually, you know these guys, they would much rather. How many guys would prefer a ghost job than going to work? All you got to do is be a Democrat? Come on. And I sit behind Ed Burke's house? How about the coppers? How many generations of coppers? You think he wants to go by the side broad's house yet? It's getting cold in here. Turn the air up or turn the heat up. I'm so sick of pretending that we're all on the same level of character. If you're a Democrat, you want in on the theft.
Yeah. Well, and at this point, too, I mean, think about who the Democrats are, right? Think about the candidates who just won in New York, who are going to win their races, so they're going to be seated in the U.S. House of Representatives, who blame America for Islamic terror, who have said overtly, on the record, they want to eliminate Western civilization. Their patron politically is Mondani, who, by the way, what's his new announcement today? I don't know. I posted this just now on my social media.
Rent freeze.
Well, yes, rent freeze, yes. In addition to that, though, that's not enough. Also, a city fund to pay to transition children, to sexually mutilate children, to chop off the healthy private parts of children to advance their sick, radical, perverse agenda and inflict that abuse upon children. That's who the Democrats of the 2020s are. This is a long way from Tip O'Neill, okay? A long way.
Well,
these are not your parents or grandparents' Democrats.
Well, why would they stop if there's no penalty? And, we got the exact right guy for the exact right thing. He comes on air and he talks about how he's going to nullify the Supreme Court. He's going to ignore it. Well, that's an insurrection. He is in a position where he's elected. He's a political public figure, and he is bragging how he is going to circumvent, break, ignore, and use government itself to protect illegals from government. That's a declaration of war. Stop all money tomorrow. Why can't they just do that? I don't understand why we just have to take it. You know, after all, this house of cards that they run, it stops if they can't get the funding from everybody else. Shut them off. Scott Bessent, shut the spigot off. What are you doing?
Yeah, well, listen, as far as Gavin Newsom goes, I mean, I'm with you, by the way, on withholding funds. I think there should be a lot more work on that. But it does look like the investigation of the DOJ, which is finally doing something. It did nothing under Pam Bondi. It does seem like the DOJ is getting serious about at least investigating his personal corruption. Now, that's not what he's done in public office, right? But in terms of his personal corruption and he and his wife and their abuse of nonprofits. I will tell you, by the way, the biggest problem he's going to have, because like I said, he's a very skilled politician. I hate to admit that, but he is. The biggest problem he's going to have running is going to be his wife. She is wacko, and she won't shut up either. So she's not just wacko, she's wacko and she's very prolific. In other words, she's always in front of the media and saying the craziest things possible, particularly regarding gender. I mean, she is truly nuts. I mean, you want to talk about somebody who hates men. I mean, she has put her at the top of the list. She's going to be a problem for him. Even on the Dem side, she's going to be a problem for him.
Well, was that a problem when Obama had Bigfoot? Bigfoot was repulsive and just as vicious and just as mean and just as qualified with just as many scandals, basically, only they hid their money in ghost jobs she never went to. So it's interesting to your point that they could pull it off. I think you're right. And I'm wondering real quick, because one of my favorite Gavin Newsom moments is when he debated Ron DeSantis. I thought it was fantastic to watch. And now that we have the hurricane rebuild, that Ron DeSantis, you saw the bridge to Sanibel Island, right? Remember they came out, this is going to be a 3-year job. It was done in 95 days. 95 days, they're driving on it. Everything's nice. It's fantastic. So the success of DeSantis versus the calamity and the corruption, the mayhem and the feudalism of the Democrats. I mean, DeSantis, even though he's not mentioned, he should be the guy that runs, don't you think?
Yeah. No, and by the way, listen, it's an amazing contrast, those two. And I point that out in the documentary because you're exactly right. Florida gets hit. You know, California has its share of natural disasters, okay? It does. However, Florida gets hit way more, right? And yet Florida manages it, figures out. And I also point out, I didn't notice until I started doing the research. Florida used to have a terrible problem with fires. And I think largely because it's such a lightning state. But anyway, they used to have a lot of problems with wildfires in Florida, really big problems. But you know what they did? They properly manage their forests. They start doing controlled burns. They properly cut the underbrush. They also have really effective fire response. So when little fires do happen, they put them out very quickly. Nobody hears about it. Doesn't make the news. So Florida is in every way is the contrast and the answer to Newsom and California's failures.
Yeah. I love it here. And I'm going to tell you, Rick Scott's another one. Rick Scott grew up in a mobile home park. He could buy a Larry David like Juicy Fruit. So it's either success versus failure or we got a problem on our hands. Well, when does the documentary come out?
It's going to be out Tuesday morning. You can find it at CortesInvestigates.com. I'll also be putting it on my YouTube, my X, Twitter, everywhere. There's no paywall. We just want people to see it, share it, make sure the truth is known. It'll be out Tuesday morning.
All right, you going to call me when you're in Florida or Chicago?
I sure will, brother.
Because I heard you're doing one on Southside Bob. When the Catholic Church has a Southside Democrat named Bob as the Pope, it's no longer infallible, okay?
Understood. That one's coming, too.
Yeah, let me know if you wanted me to do a promo. We start with Southside Bob. You're the best. I love you. Thanks for making time.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you. We'll be back with your calls and comments.
This is the Sean Thompson Show, where Democrats are always wrong, Republicans are seldom right, and politicians